Yo, yo, yo. Well, as you can see, something a little bit different for this month. Come on the rods. One of them. I'm not going to catch anything here, I'm just here for the sunsets and sunrises. Buzzing. When it all comes good, eh? I'm in. Oh my God, I've got another bite.
They've got what I call like garden centre mouths or stock pond mouths, but with old, incredible colours and sometimes worn away fins, and you think, wow, nice. Well, you've been a busy boy, ain't you? Fishing, you probably fished more waters this year than I've flicked out boilies.
Well, it's a different week and we're at a different lake. Who said I wasn't hardcore, eh? Look at this. I think the air temperature today is -5. What sort of idiot comes out fishing in those conditions? Oi, oi, and there we go. A lovely little snow carp. Obviously there's been a lot of talk over the last few years of people using hormone.
And if you don't know what you're doing with them, it could be pretty dangerous.
Yo, yo, yo. Well, as you can see, something a little bit different for this month. It's nice sometimes to go and do things that you've never done within fishing, and I've never caught a tidal river carp. I've not done a huge amount of river fishing, full stop, for carp over the years, little dabble here and there. But yeah, this is something very different for me. The fish that are in here, they're at the end of the line, obviously. They've been flushed out down the river over the years from various different lakes, and this is where they've ended up. Probably quite unlucky, to be honest with you, because, well, this is a sewage outlet that's pumping crap into the water constantly. Obviously, they're having to battle the salty water as well. And yeah, I don't know, I imagine the natural food's a bit muddy. Eating crabs and whatever, I'm sure they absolutely love it. But yeah, this is where they've ended up. And there is a few in here by all accounts, not loads, but you never really know what's sort of ended up in here over the last sort of, during the last floods. And also, there's another bit where it joins the sea behind me, it runs down to a marina. Now that marina has been suffering from 3 seals living on it, and they have been munching their way through the carp, and obviously the ones that are left in there are going to get pushed out, and by all accounts the seals have been pushing them into the lock next to the sea, and obviously once the tide's up and the lock gets opened, they're getting flushed out to sea. Now from there, if they follow the freshwater trail, scent trail, they're going to end up back round here. So at the moment, it's quite interesting because you just don't know what might be in here. There was a 38 pounder in that stretch up there, so that could well be in here now. And what's interesting is when the water's right up, they can get back over the weir up there and back into the freshwater. So yeah, it'd be interesting to sort of track 1 or 2 of these, wouldn't it, and see what they get up to. Maybe they go do it for fun, Should we pop out to the old sea for a little bit, down the seaside, little holiday, and then back up over the weir? Right, I think it's about time I got some rods out. So I come up here about 40 minutes ago, put a couple of handfuls of mainline diamond whites around here. It's a bait that's always done well for me in the past on silty waters, so I thought maybe with the mud might help. They're obviously not going to see it in this clarity, so it's all going to be about the scent, and they've got a nice strong scent which seems to work in cold water. So let's get a couple of rods in and sit back and wait for the low tide. Well, I was going to tape my bank sticks to these poles here, but being as I'm down the seaside, or it feels like I am, I don't see any problem with just having these on there. It's a nice smooth finish. Obviously the clutch is going to rip off when it goes. So yeah, I think I'll just leave them like this for now. The lines have settled quite well actually without the back leads, so that's good. Beauty of fluorocarbon. I tell you what, we weren't forecast this today. It was meant to be grey and grim all day long. So yeah, thanks universe for sorting out some lovely weather. Just put out simple rigs, one on a spinner with a bag, some pellets and a few boilies, and then the other one on a bottom bait with a little bit of a pop up on it, just to give it a bit of buoyancy. Short braided hook link, simple as it comes, and again with a little bag on that just to give a bit of extra attraction around the hook bait, a bit of smart liquid in the pellets. So hopefully we've got a chance. I don't really fancy doing the night on here. I could if I wanted to, because I've got my bits in the car, but these rocks down here are hairy as you like. They're all super slippery, and I just think, you know, trying to clamber down them in the middle of the night, potentially, you know, playing a fish. If I was to slip over and crack my head on one of them rocks, then it could be game over and no one would even fire me until the morning. So yeah, a little bit precarious. I think I'll give that one a miss, but what I have got is a couple of spots above here on the freshwater section that I've trickled a little bit of bait into. So I think I'll probably go and do the night up there, and then if we don't catch anything here today, maybe come back here in the morning for another go. But for now, I should probably sit back, keep my voice down, and lap up this glorious sunshine. Lovely jubbly. Well, the light levels are dropping just about as quickly as the temperature is. Whew, it's going to be a chilly one. I've not had any signs, to be honest with you, other than a couple of little knocks, but probably a crab. Yeah, looks like this is going to be the last bit of light, so I thought I'd just sort of sign off before it gets dark. Probably going to give it until about, I don't know, just into darkness here, because obviously it's a good time of night, and that's about low tide as well. So yeah, I feel like, you know, there should be a chance from the little I know about this area. They're obviously not always here, but you'd think there would be, because it's just, you know, a fresh water outlet where they can sit out of the flow. Yeah, I did speak to a guy who's had a little go here lately, and he's been catching the odd one, up to sort of low 20s, I think. So, you know, like I say, it's not like they've not been caught here for a long time. Don't know what to do really, other than sit it out for now, sit on my hands, hope one of these goes, and then yeah, I'll go and get set up on the freshwater bit. But even up there, I mean, there's been a lot of water pushing through lately, and everyone I speak to does a bit of river fishing. Just as soon as you know, mention rain and a lot of water pushing through the rivers, they just say, oh, you're wasting your time. But that section up there, it's only about 100 yards long, so I think, you know, if they're stuck in that section and they're going to be moving about up and down it, so you'd have a chance there, you'd think anyway. But I don't know, never try, never know. We'll give it a go. Come on, the rods. One of them. One of them, innit? That's what we want, boy. Well, last night, after it got dark, done a bit of a risk assessment. Thought to myself, if I'm careful, I think I'll be alright here. So, also felt like this was the best chance of a bite, just because the freshwater bit can be a bit hit and miss when there's so much water pumping through there. So yeah, I had a couple of knocks in the night, and that was about it. There was a little bit of a frost this morning, a real gentle one, a gentle frost. But yeah, like, really thought I'd get a bite out of here if I'd done the night. Wasn't to be. Yeah, a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you. I've done a lot of fishing lately, well, a fair bit of fishing lately, with no success. You know, I'm out trying to get content, and I mean, I just feel like I'm wasting a lot of time at the moment. Yeah, a bit frustrating. The mojo always seems to go on holiday at this time of year. Anyway, I've packed up my gear because it's going to absolutely tip down. I think we've got 2 mil of rain in about an hour or something. and it's coming in about an hour's time, so I thought, oh, it's probably not going to do me any favours with the fishing, and I don't fancy everything getting absolutely drenched as well. And obviously, you know, I would have thought if I was going to have one out of here, I would have had one by now. I've done, like, fished through 2 low tides and 1 high tide, so I gave it a go, and I failed. I might go and check out a lake on the way home, I think. I'll have a little look at the freshwater bit on the river, but yeah, I don't think that rain's going to do me any favours, so let's get this gear packed up and go and find something else, somewhere else. Get on a mission. Let me down, you lot. I'll be back. Well, after leaving the river this morning, it absolutely tipped it down, so I think I made the right decision there. Had a little look at the spots on the freshwater bit that I could see the bait, and the bait was still there. So yeah, I was feeling pretty uninspired by that, and been keeping in touch with Adam Penning lately, and he's been having a few at the lake that we fished last year. In fact, it was this day last year that we were here. Strange at the moment, because last week I was at Ashbury and that was exactly the same day that I was there last time. Feels like Groundhog Year. Anyway, we didn't manage to catch anything out of here when we done the feature last year. So Adam came back and he's been having a good little go throughout the autumn, and he's absolutely emptied the place. He's caught half the stock. There's 60 fish in here and Adam's had 30, which is unbelievable really. You know, it's not an easy lake. Even in between those fish, I think it's only done half a dozen others over the last couple of months. So yeah, whatever he was doing it right. So I thought I'd come down here, say hello to him, and have a little 24-hour session myself, see if I could settle the score after that 3-night blank last year. Was it 2 nights? No, I think it probably was 3 nights. So yeah, I've come into this swim known as the Tower. Just liked the feel of it, to be honest with you. I hadn't really seen anything, done a couple of laps, but sometimes, you know, the old gut feeling one. And then I set up in here and Adam came down and I said, oh, I found a nice little spot out there. He's like, oh yeah, I've been baiting that one. So I felt a bit bad really, but I wasn't going to move then. So yeah, I'm fishing one of Adam's pre-baited spots by the looks of it. I wish he would have told me beforehand. I wouldn't have gone here to start with, but I ain't got time to mess about now. Yeah, fingers crossed for tonight. There's some absolutely cracking fish in this wharf pool. Some real special old ones. If you keep an eye on Adam's videos, you'll see some of his coming up soon, and or his Instagram account, and yeah, special old carp, and one that was 50 plus. Fair play, mate. Absolutely rinsed it. Right, sun's just dropping. Gonna get a few shots and sit back and watch the water. Well, this was completely out of the blue. I just stood here with Adam and we'd seen one show 20 yards behind the spot, so we just come down for a little look. He'd just laser penned a couple of coots off the spot, and yeah, started to go. I didn't know what was going on, to us. Looking at the rod, looking out there, thinking, what is that you? Was that you? And I was like, no, it must be a bite. And lo and behold, I've got a carp on, and it feels like it's been a hell of a long time. Been to a lot of different venues in the last sort of month or so, with a lot of blanks. So I just hope I get this one in, to be honest with you. So yeah, nothing happened last night, and I honestly didn't think anything was going to happen whatsoever. I even said it to Adam. I'm not going to catch anything anyway. I'm just here for the sunsets and sunrises. Sometimes it gets to that point with fishing, doesn't it? You know, when you've had a few blanks. But as I mentioned yesterday, I set up in this swim, found myself a lovely little spot, and it was actually one that you'd been baiting, weren't it, mate? So I did feel bad. I wish you would have told me that before I set up, and then I would have gone in a different swim. But yeah. So yeah, I apologise, Adam, for catching one off your baited spot. Well, I ain't got it in yet. It's fighting really well, I must say. And the one we saw 20 yards behind it definitely did look like a big one. It's not a monster. I think that weed's not helping with it, but the fish in here are unreal. Adam's been catching, well, he's had half the stock in the last couple of months, and some of them are just amazing. Lovely dark ones, loads of different characters. God, make my arms hurting already. Oh. Oh, it's a common. Apparently the commons are quite rare in here as well. Quite a lot of weed in the edge here, so just got to try and keep it up, and hopefully he won't get his head in that. I'll be able to sort of pull him over it. There he comes, come upside down then. Oh, he's a lovely common, lovely dark one. Is he going to come this time? He's on his way. Well, blown away by this one. Check him out for an absolutely epic common. This one is one of the Dinton ones. Not sure how long it's been in here, do you, Ad?
Long enough.
Long enough. Good answer. £35 of absolute brute of a carp. Mega shape, lovely colours. Wicked mouth on him. Buzzing. When it all comes good, eh? Like I said, I've been to quite a lot of places lately and I've been struggling, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself because obviously we're trying to get good content for you guys to watch, and yeah, when it's not going right, can get yourself a little bit down, you know. Like this morning I didn't even do anything to camera because I've just fed up of telling you that I haven't caught anything. But wow, mega buzz. Gonna get a couple of quick snaps and get him back. Whee! I'm in. Oh my God, I've got another bite. Oh my God.
Where's the landing?
There behind, sorry mate, by the pole. Good job you're here, innit? What would have mess would I be in without you here, mate? I wonder if that's one of them peak times.
Yeah.
New moon. Oi. Oh, this one's on a washed out bait. I've sort of been soaking these baits out for about 10 days after speaking to Dave Ball the other month, and yeah, thought I'd give them a go. Certainly ain't done any harm. They kind of almost got a bit of a fermented smell about them. Put one of them on the hook, I think because the mainline baits have got a bit of a rubbery skin on them, still managed to get away with it. What do you reckon, Ad?
Ready to leap forward into action, but I thought you was doing a solo thing.
Pull that straight up to the spreader block, you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. That's all we need to do.
Do you reckon he's in there? He's got to be, hasn't he?
Definitely on there, mate.
Oh, not quite. Or is he? Was it?
Where's your line?
Oh no, it's still out there.
That weed must have slid up the line. Yeah.
That's all right, mate. He's all right. He's gonna. Oh, his tail's out there. I reckon maybe go behind him. Look, stick that behind him, and he'll back in. Oh no. It's a palaver, isn't it, mate? It's Houdini. Oh, no, he's there, just on the outside. Now he's in. Oh my God.
Savage.
What a palaver. Still, the end result is a carp in the net somewhere. Oh, thanks for letting me come down here, mate.
Unbelievable, mate.
Wow. Well, I honestly thought I was going to be leaving here on another blank, but the universe has provided massively. Best common in the lake. Amazing, amazing carp. Look at that. Absolutely blown away by it. Incredible condition, amazing shape. Off she goes. Special Dinton baby. Well, there's no baby anymore. And we've got one in the net. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, big thanks to Adam for inviting me down here for a little catch up. Chuffed. Well, check him out in that glorious mid-November sunshine. Crazy, isn't it? You do all that fishing and you get 2 in 5 minutes. Good old bussers. Mega result. £22 mirror, that one. Like I said, come on a washed out cell. Just 2 spoms of them over the top, and then a little 2-bait stringer, which was the wet ones. I just doubled up the PVA, kept doubling it, well, quadrupled it up so that I could use a stringer. Yeah, mega. Wicked. Right, gonna get this one back, and then my kit's already packed up, to be honest with you. I think I'm gonna quit whilst I'm ahead and call it a day. Have a nice little chat with Adam before I get going. But yeah, mega result. I'm well happy. Relief, massive relief. Well, after coming here last year for 2 or 3 nights or whatever it was and having a struggle, it's always nice to come back to somewhere that you've blanked to try and settle the score. And yeah, I feel like the lake has been very kind to me this time. So thank you very much, Wharf Pool. I'll be back. Happy bloody days. All right, Boyle?
Hello, mate.
Lady, sitting comfortably?
Reasonably. Oh, we get more and more backache as we get older, don't we? But yeah.
Yeah, the old bed chair back. It's not from sleeping on them though, is it? It's sitting on them. It's good to see that you've got a proper bed chair.
Yeah, having that back support is so important. I've always used one, but couldn't do without it. Either what you use or something like this is up there with the most important things, I think.
Definitely.
And even using that, you know, I still have to have a conscious effort just to sit back in it, sit up properly and that, and because otherwise, yeah, that backache.
Yeah, postures. I mean, my posture's terrible. I need to go and get ironed out in Thailand again, I think. But it is important, isn't it? Very
Steam
important. Yeah, so I thought, you know, seeing as I've not seen you much this year, thought we'd have a little chat since we've crossed paths.
Yeah,
little
mate.
Catch up.
Nice. Well, you've been a busy boy, ain't you? Fishing. You probably fished more waters this year than I've flicked out boilies. So, I mean, that meadow thing that you had going on, mate, well, I mean, that just left us all in total awe. It was just incredible. When was that? May?
Yeah, I think it was late May or early June.
Was it?
Yeah.
But it feels a long time ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I kind of took my foot off the gas a little bit after that. And
well, you can when you've had fish like that, mate. Flipping hell.
Re-establishing a bit of balance in life, and yeah, had a good summer.
Yeah, you have, yeah. Well, your life's on a upward trend, mate. Some positive energy and the things you've got going on, so more power to you.
So how about yourself then? How's your year been? I think the last time we were out was at, oh blimey, it was up at...
Here, wasn't it?
No, we went to Houchins. fishable.
Oh, of course we
outing.
did. Yeah, that was probably in April or something, wasn't it? Yeah, Tony's place. Yeah. Like everywhere, that's been really suffering with the low water levels, hasn't it? So it's I haven't been back up there, but probably a good place for a winter bite. So yeah, since then it's been. I think this is the first year in as long as I can remember where I haven't had a syndicate ticket. So it's been quite good because I've had a lot of work to do trying to get a project off the ground. So I think with hindsight, that might have just been a good universe thing as well, because you know what it's like better than anyone. You get so preoccupied and focused and obsessional and tunnel visioned on something that everything else can sort of fall by the wayside to a point. So having no sort of point of angling focus has really helped me this year to get other things done. So not by choice, you know, I was hoping and praying that a ticket was going to come up, but it didn't. So 2 tickets that I'd sort of like, if I got either of them, they'd be probably lifetime tickets because of how old I am. They'll probably last me the next 20 years and then I'll be done, God willing. So yeah, so they didn't come up, so I've just been flitting around different places, mostly doing filming work. So I started filming for a new project probably in April, I think.
And this is your own project, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm doing it in conjunction with Rob and Joe from Carpology, because they're real good experts at the media and marketing side of things, and obviously they've got loads of great innovative ideas, and I'm the content provider, just to come up with what we're doing, where we're doing it, and to get it filmed. And so we've been doing that literally all summer, just to build content and get things going. So it's meant that I've been fishing loads of different places, and spent a fair bit of time down at, or up I should say, at Bluebell, which I know you've been to.
Cool complex, isn't it?
Really, really cool complex with some of the best carp in the country without a doubt, and some of the biggest. And
some of the most, well, one of the busiest as well, isn't
and
it?
one of the busiest, yeah.
Never seen so many carp anglers.
It's absolutely staggering, really, the amount of trade they get through those gates. I think you've got 5 lakes on site, and there are certain times where out of those 5 lakes, and a couple of them are good size, there's literally not a spare swim, which sounds, to most people listening to this, probably sounds like hell. Sounds like hell to you and me probably as well, but I think, you know, the fish make it work. It's the fish ultimately that you go anywhere for, and actually it is it seems to me like a slightly busy syndicate in terms of how well it's run, how generally how quiet and peaceful it is. You don't have people walking around all day long saying you caught anything. It's quite often you don't get any footfall through your swim, which is nice, and there's no litter. Everything's like pin clean, and the fish are amazing, and so it's got an awful lot going for it. Once you to coin a phrase, wrap your head around that whole busyness thing, there's an awful lot going for it. And I know you caught some good ones up there, haven't you?
I think you quite relish the challenge of that, don't you? You know what I mean? Like a lake that's full, there's 2 swims left on it, and you know you've just got to make the most of what you get left with sometimes on that sort of place, haven't you?
There's definitely 2 sides of fishing that really appeal to me. One is the sort that you and I do, like, is probably our favourite, which is just going out and it's you against the carp and the conditions and the moon and the weather, you know. And then the other is pitting yourself against the everyday all-comers. You're just in the mix with everyone, and seeing how you fare with that, and that fascinates me almost as much. So I'd still probably slightly prefer the former, you know, where it's just you against the fish, but they both hold attraction, definitely. Yeah,
and also because of the way you fish, you know, you're very much always looking to do things differently to everyone else, and that gives you the perfect playground for that kind of approach, doesn't it? You know,
yeah.
There's a lot of people tend to, you know, be conditioned into fishing in a very similar way, don't they? You know, and just by being a little bit different, thinking outside the box. Yeah. And there's so many different variables to that, aren't there, as well? Whether it's how you're baiting, the rigs you're using, you know, the approach, your line angles, your line lay, and you know, so. I don't know, it's like a whole new chessboard in a way, isn't it? A fun, interesting one that really can get your mind going, and you've got multiple lakes to choose from to try and find those or make those opportunities.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I can see why it's appealing.
Having the multiple lakes is cool because, you know, if you never would go there with thinking I want to get on a particular, or I'm going to get on a particular lake. You just go to the complex thinking I want to get on fish somewhere, and you'll just walk the whole complex sometimes looking for an opportunity. But you're right, that's why you succeed so well in places like that, because you do fish sort of outside the box and not in a mainstream sort of style. And you're right what you say, that if you've got that cognitive flexibility in your fishing, and that, or the necessary strings to your bow, then there are opportunities to be creative, because a lot of the time on those lakes they do get attacked the same way, using the same thing in the same places, and that's what you specialise in, breaking the mould. And I try and do that as well, and it does work on places like that. And the fish are just ridiculous as well. So did probably a couple of months. I think I did about 7 or 8 trips in total up there. Blanked the first time I went, I fished on swan. Blanked the second time I went, I did a couple more nights on swan. And you always need that learning curve to try and isolate key factors that you think might be to your advantage. And then after that, the subsequent 5 or 6 trips that I didn't blank, and I fished swan, and my last trip actually up there was on Kingfisher, and I fished 2 sessions on Sand Martin Lake, which is a really cool one. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I've never actually fished it, but yeah, it's a lovely little lake, isn't it?
Again, I mean, it's got the really cool, really nice strain of fish, which have just got massive, and it's very deep and very weedy, whereas like swan is quite shallow, and the water levels have been dropping so low this year that swan's got really low. And Kingfisher is probably the most pressured, but you know, they all hold big fish. I mean, even, you know, I looked at Mallard, the biggest lake on site, fished that. I think I did one night on there at the end of the summer, and again caught some fish which were just, when you think that Mallard is probably the busiest actual day ticket singular entity as a lake in the country. I mean, the pressure is insane, and you catch these fish, and like they've got what I call like garden centre mouths, or stock pond mouths, but with old incredible colours and sometimes worn away fins, and you think, wow, that's amazing. When you look at the pressure, like it's nuclear atomic pressure on all of those lakes, and
they're weedy.
They're weedy. And
I know you've mentioned it 2 or 3 times since going up there, and you're now, you know, a real kind of avid believer of the benefits of barbless hooks, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've said for a long, long time that by having a barbless policy, you eliminate 99% of all your towing and all your tethering. That's it. It's as simple as that, because as anyone who fishes barbless waters will know, or if you've been in France on holiday or something, you know, you've got the fish in the net and you go to sort out the camera, and that when you go back, usually it's the rig's out, they get rid of it themselves. I should say, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, always be straight up and honest, for my own fishing I use a microbarb hook. Most of the fishing I do is around a lot of weed, and sometimes I might have to slacken off to go out in a boat or something or whatever, but I rationalise and justify that because I don't lose tackle. I fish really, really thick line, really strong line. I don't fish at range. I'm not cracking off. I cannot. The rigs, like we sorted out some rig tubing yesterday, didn't we? And I said, and there was a bit that I had left, and the other bit is on my 3 rods, and it's been on those same rods for 3 months. And you know, I don't lose tackle. So I always think of it like someone said to me once: the only dangerous rig that's out there in the lake is one that's not attached to a rod. So I'm comfortable in my own fishing that I can, but of course when you go to really busy club tickets or day tickets, you have to legislate for all comers, and you have people of all different abilities. Well, even at Bluebell, while I was there on Kingfisher, a guy was fishing zigs next door to me, and he was fishing about 25 yards out, because that was the limit of his swim. He was in the corner. He cracked off 3 times while I was there. You know, that's 3 live rigs out there. So that's why I think that when you've got all comers and you've just got to protect your fish, you've got all different levels of ability. I've seen enough to know for sure that a barbless policy, well, you've got Bluebell is a 30 or more year blueprint 5 lakes, all different size fish, from doubles all the way through to mid-50s. Insane pressure. It's been barbless for 30 years and all the fish are perfect. And I think that anyone watching this who's a club secretary or looking, have got their own day ticket fishery, you don't need to know any more than that. There's weed, there's snags, they're shallow, they're deep, the fish are big or small. That is your blueprint for proof that a barbless policy will have massive benefit to your fish when you've got high pressure angling situations and lots of people come in. So I went off on a rant there, but it's something I'm really passionate about, and I know you are. I mean, carp are incredible, beautiful creatures, and we want to.
Because the kind of anti-barbless people out there, there's a few of them, aren't there, who say that the hooks slip more, but like you said,
total rubbish.
How many years, 30 years or whatever,
I think
the
a lot
proof
of it
is just there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is literally a nuclear blueprint of one site where they've been exposed over a very long term. It's the ultimate study. Like if you had a placebo group and a control group, it's the ultimate study, and you can see exactly what that outcome is. But you do get, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I lost it because it was barbless. Well, I remember I landed one fish on a floater and a guy come down to me and it come in with a load of weed and he's gone, cool, I bet it was nice to play that without worrying about the hook coming out, wasn't it? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I bet you guys, you have a barb on, don't you? And no one says anything. I said, no, mate. I said, I can't afford to get caught. I just fished this. And I showed him and I pulled this size 10 out and he was like, oh, wow. I said, I don't lose fish. We all lose fish, but I don't believe I necessarily ever lose a fish because the hook's barbless. And I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that all the fish that I was lucky enough to catch from bluebell, I don't think I lost one single fish. So I think it's down to other elements that people are doing that result in a lost fish, not just because that hook is barbless. People use that as an excuse. You fish loads of places where you've had to fish barbless and you caught. Yeah. I've seen you do it, like absolute ridiculous numbers of big. What, going all the way back to Maison?
Maison, yeah, that was all barbless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't lose any, did you?
I don't think so. I don't remember losing any. But I mean, from a personal point of view, I've had 2 hooks in my lip over the years.
Painful. I never had one in my lip.
The worst one, I must have told this story, it's horrendous. It's like literally a double hooked a fish. It was like 2, 3 in the morning in France. And I thought, right, I need my scissors to cut that so I don't have to thread the hook through its lip. Yeah. But I didn't have my scissors to hand. I thought, well, it's £10 mono, it's £10 big game. I thought, I'll bite it. So I've gone down to bite it. And as I've done that, the fish is flat, the hook's now in my lip. The lead clips the other side of the fish's mouth and he's flapping. It's like, and then it just snapped, like it snapped the £10 mono.
£10?
Yeah. Anyway, and the other time...
Must have ripped your lip a bit, didn't it?
No, it didn't. And I'd already, previously to that, like many years before that, when we used to use that soft silicone over the eye of the hook on your bottom bait rigs, pulling that over was always hard work. And I think one day I had the hook sort of in between my teeth like that, pulling it up, and it slipped and gone in my lip. And I think I was only about 14 or something at the time, and I could not get that hook out. Me and my brother tried to get the hook out, we couldn't get it out. And my mum's friend had to come and pick me up, take me to hospital, and they had to remove it, So that is how hard it is to get a hook with a barb out of us, you know?
Yeah.
And we know that if that happened with a barbless, you'd just go like that instantly, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
So, no, I totally understand that. And like you say, for any sort of busy lakes or, wow, I can't really, realistically, deep down, we should probably be using them all the time, shouldn't we? Because that just eliminates the chances of them, a fish being able to get tethered.
You could argue that at any point in time, any one of us could have an accident, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there is a strong argument for it. And actually, it wouldn't bother me too much if the Prime Minister of Carp Fishing said, right, as of tomorrow, it's all barbless. I mean,
is that Tim Paisley?
Yeah, I thought it was Kevin Nash. I didn't get voted out. So yeah, there is a big. I do it with a clear conscience simply because I don't. And another thing that I don't do is I never fish snags. So again, if I was doing things that were putting me in risky situations of either cracking a rig off because I'm going for a big chuck or fishing next to snags and I could get a fish tethered up or anything like that, then I would have to change my view. But I don't do any of those. I find snag fishing way too stressful. I don't do any long chucking, and I don't lose tackle. But you're right. There is probably a good argument that maybe we should all switch over. But the myth and it is a myth, that barbless hooks cause more damage because they slip, slide and tear is a total myth. It's absolute rubbish. And I think a lot of that comes from, you know, if we wound the clock back 10 or 20 years when we were fishing lakes where the fish, we didn't have all the preponderance of monsters that we've got everywhere now. I mean, it's a good example. You think of the amount of really high quality lakes that have got a barbless only policy. You look at Crete lakes in France, you look at gigantic, you can name loads of lakes where the fish are absolutely mint. And I've forgotten where I was going with that, but there are, if you wound the clock back, that's right, like a decade or two, when people were fishing well-stocked lakes and the fish were doubles and so on, and a lot of them had come from match lakes. Or maybe the lake itself used to get match fished, or somewhere like Drayton or somewhere like that. And people used to go, oh, well, it's barbless hooks. That's what happened with the match fishing. And they made this wrong, in my opinion, correlation and causation between the damage and barbless hooks, where in actual fact, it was down to bad fish handling, it was down to elasticated feeder rigs, method feeder rigs, lost tackle.
Cranking them in.
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Not caring, basically, because it's all about numbers and trying to win some money.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. All right, so we've touched on the project, but we haven't really exactly said what it is. What's the concept of it? So
it's called Carp Academy, Penning's Carp Academy. So it's it came about through, I've been doing tutorials now for just over 10 years, and I'm kind of like oversubscribed really. I do one, sometimes two every week, but I'm always booked 2 months ahead, and there's just me. So apart from it being just me, which is self-limiting, I'm also limited by the fact that money's a limit. Obviously, some people can't afford to have a tutorial. Geography's a limit. You know, I get, like you do, you know, people in Scotland or France, you know, want to have a tutorial. It's just not viable. So I thought, well, what about if we had a very, very low cost, easy access platform that was based around education, a tutorial, like online tutorials, like based purely around educating people and solving angling problems and improving their angling, making them better anglers on the bank, better people to deal with, the carp benefit from the better carp care, the whole trying to improve the whole thing. And at the same time, when I was looking, when Joe and Rob and I were looking at doing it, we were very aware that the subscription and the video market is quite a busy one, and you've got people, I always refer to you, that are doing brilliant content with like steaming kettles and misty, beautiful dawns and big black massive carp and everything. And you do it so well, we thought, well, we're not going to get in the mix with that. You're doing that brilliant. We're going to look at targeting the anglers who maybe never even do the sort of fishing that you do or that I like to do, and they're looking to catch their first 20 or their first double or their first 30, and there's a sprinkling of people over and above that have been doing it for a while, that feel they want to brush up on a particular skill set. So yeah, it was about making content that that would deliver on those bases really. So we've got it's a two-tier or two-avenue platform. So one is the membership exclusive subscription, which we kept really low cost, and then the other one is like a library of fishing films, which I've called success packs. So you just like you get the thing and you watch the film, and it tells you everything hopefully that you need to know within that subject heading. So
okay, so like particle fishing, or
that's it, margin fishing, floater fishing, watercraft. You know, there's countless headings we could come up with. I've done, I think we're up to nearly 20 now. I did three, one on moon phases, or I mentioned you several times. So we're building this library of films, and they're available for anybody to rent or buy at super low cost. So you could rent it at 99p,
right,
or buy it at £1.49. So we kept it as low cost as possible. There's a lot of free content out there. It's really good. Getting something to work as a business model is difficult, because there's a lot of good quality content out there. But at the same, so we wanted to keep it low cost for that reason, but also to make it accessible for everyone, because everyone's feeling the pinch. I watched Brad Pitt Bullet Train the other night, and morning was Magpie, And it was like £5, and I was thinking, shall I wait till the end of the month? I'm not that skint, but I was thinking, it is like £5 now, you know, we're all feeling the pinch. So we thought, well, let's make it cheap, accessible, packed full of information-based content that's not conflicting with anything that you're doing or that Sip's doing or Darryl or anybody. Would just do our own thing and target that market of people that are avaricious for information.
Yeah, anyone who's hungry for, you know, to improve their skills and their knowledge. Yeah. So basically, you know, whilst you're out and you're in session fishing, you're talking through everything, I guess, you know, like to try and get across your mindset of why you're doing what you're doing. And
yeah, so part of the members content is my own video log, which is very raw and uncut, you know. I mean, you've been doing it long enough that you're slick and organised, or I'm just a complete cluster disaster, mate. It's very raw and uncut, but yeah, again, it's the same as the success packs or the in-session films that we've done at different fisheries. It's about trying to show how to catch carp using simple methods and proving that you can do it. So the first one we did at Bluebell on San Martin Lake, and on that particular film, I mean, Bluebell is a lot of the fishing there is bait boats, as you know. And a lot of these bait boats are like £4 super digital, where they've got winches on them that lower cameras down to the bottom. I mean, I get such a mess. I just think, wow. So we thought, well, how about we go there and we get on the gate with everyone else at 7 in the morning, no knowledge of the fishery. I've never caught a carp from Bluebell, no inside information, no baited areas, no roped off, any of that rubbish. And we'll just see if we can catch carp with a bag of boilies and a catapult. It's just to show also that not only that is possible, but if you don't like the idea of all that tech, or you don't want to, or you can't afford a £4 bait boat, which, you know, which a lot of people can't, that you can still go to the busiest complex in the country and fish simply, and if you have the right building blocks in place, you can still succeed. That was the mindset, and I thought, well, if we do that, if we go there and we come away with a fish, we've done well, we've got a film. I thought if we come away with 2 fish, like a couple of 20s, we've got a good film, be up buzzing. That was how I was thinking. But we came away with a lot more than we bargained for, and somehow fluked the biggest fish in the lake, which was just insanity, and got all that on film. But it was kind of like, when we're making Carp Academy films, we're thinking we just want to catch some fish, 20s, chance of a 30. And when you catch something like, it was quite funny because I was saying, like, we're not going to get into the steaming kettles and the misty sunrises and the big black 50-pounders and that, but before we know it, like, well, you're not going to shake them off, are you? But yeah, it all went a bit crazy, but it was good. It was good fun. But
epic.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So we caught there, and then we caught from on swan, and then we caught on kingfisher, and then since then, I think. No, I haven't been. Then I've done a few more in sessions. We've done a Suffolk Club Lake, Suffolk Water Park, and we came down here and did an in session down at Wolf Pool at the end of October. No, about the middle of October, and then I've stayed here. So about 5 weeks since then. We did an in session, then I've come back and done about 5 or 6 trips since then. And just been fishing here, which has been fun as well. So
empty the place.
Been very, very, very lucky. But the fish are incredible in here, as you know. I mean, it's like, it's a very special little lake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gin clear, weedy. It's some amazing.
We always said we were going to have to come back, didn't we, after that trip last year?
Yeah, which punished us both. I mean, we really enjoyed it, but it just didn't happen, even though we was both on fish.
We'd seen pictures of what it had, and
yeah,
you know, the crystal clear water, and yeah, it's a nice lake, isn't it? It's a cool lake. I like it. It's
a mega lake, yeah. It hasn't got great winter form, so I'll probably... This trip has been my first blank, actually, so I think if I blank again next week, I might fold and just get my head stuck back into some more work. But yeah, it's...
it ain't over yet, mate.
Well, we'll see. There's a couple in here I really want to catch. There's one called the Dinton Common. I love.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What a fish, mate. Wow, just like privilege to take pictures of it when you're presented with someone as handsome as you holding a fish like that. It's a joy being behind the camera. But what a moment! Yeah, just incredible.
Yeah, nice to be able to share it with you. And apologies if I've taken away.
No apology, mate. No apology required. I mean, like, if anyone, like, obviously there's loads of people watching this. But if people were wondering, like, from the story, we weren't going to talk about the session, but Joe went in the swim and found the spot himself. You done it all yourself, you know. You wanted to go in that swim, you know, so you ain't got nothing to apologise for, mate. It's just, and there's probably loads of times you can think of, I can think of as well, where you hear about someone going with, and they've been on a mission or something, and they take a mate as a guest. I mean, I did it to Terry Earn at Dinton it happens all the way through. Like, it's just weird how the angling universe works. But this isn't like a super serious mission for me, but when I am on a mission, when I have been, like at Grendon, so you could do guesties at Grendon, and I'm like full on to try and catch Tyson. Loads of people ask me for guesties. I knew what would happen, not being horrible or anything. I've seen it happen so many times. That was one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same sort of zone, innit?
Yeah.
It ain't over yet, mate.
Well, it's just clouding over. It's looking nice. We've got about an hour. Come on.
Sweet. All right, well, yeah, really good to catch up. And obviously it sounds like the Penning's Carp Academy's going well already, so yeah, hopefully, mate, that'll just keep on growing for you.
Thank you very much. I
appreciate it. Sounds like it's keeping you very busy anyway.
It certainly is. Yeah, we've got great plans. Just as you know, it's all about building, and a lot of these things are slow burners. But we've hit the ground running. It's been very positive, and now we're just going to keep putting work into it and try and grow it. So it's nice to be in the same business that you're in, but in a totally different area. So we can, yeah, it's nice, mate. Brilliant. I love what you do. Privileged to be on here. It's amazing what you do.
Top man. All right, mate. Much love. Great to catch
up.
Well done. Cheers. Right, Chris, I'm going to chuck something at you now because it's something that I'm quite intrigued with. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk over the last few years of people using hormones within their fishing, and that it can attract, you know, the lake stock from one side to the other. And yeah, for someone who's sort of in the know in biology side of things, yeah, what are your thoughts?
So, like
true
many,
or false?
Yeah, no, well, like many things, obviously hormones in general or whatever are used to bring on a spawning scenario for a fish. So obviously it's injected into a fish. The fish needs to be at a certain temperature, which is sort of around 15 to 18 degrees. So the conditions for a usage in a lake or a fishing scenario would be very tight. It'd be a very small window where you could use these sort of things. Hormones in general are obviously derived from the fact that they're a trigger for something to react in a way. So you're looking, the trigger for an injection into a fish with a hormone is for the trigger for it to spawn. You're looking for that female to obviously be ready to release her eggs. But there's a lot of variables that come into play to make that effective. And I think it's quite a small window that you'd get every year to be able to use that effectively. So my view is, I think it would be a difficult one if you were to use it on a fishery to really get all the parameters in the right place for it to be effective. But like many things in life, everybody's looking for an edge, and if that was something that people were to look at and thought it was an edge, I'm sure they'd try it. Me personally, it's an expensive thing to buy, like having bought it myself over the years for injecting on fish. It's not cheap, and obviously there's a lot of legislation behind it in terms of being able to buy it. It's not something you can literally buy over the counter. So it's certainly a difficult one to get hold of.
You need to be close to a vet.
Yeah, I would think so. Like I say, it's the vet. Obviously, a vet is generally a fish vet as well. They need to have certain links in the industry to be able to buy these sort of things. So it's a difficult one to manage, and I think I'd like to think that it's something that wouldn't be used because it would be certainly slightly unfair.
Also, could it have some sort of, you know, detrimental effect to the fish's health in any way, shape or form? Or
I don't necessarily think it's a detrimental effect for the fish's health, but I do think that it's something that you're drawing on a natural instinct, which ethically, is that right? I'm not sure. I certainly wouldn't be happy to use it in my own angling. Like I say, it's something that I've used in a work environment in the past, in terms of obviously injecting it into fish to obviously artificially spawn them, but I've never used it in a fishing situation, and I think you'd have to have a lot of parameters and a lot of things in place to make that work.
And would it, you know, if that's the case then, and it's like this hormone that attracts the male, so is it, you know, why would it attract the females?
Well, it's obviously it's an attractant, so it's something that draws. It's such a small amount. I'm trying to think of a way to sort of explain it in a sort of human term. You'd like, at certain times of the year, pheromones and things like that are given off by different animals that bring you around to breed. Obviously, in nature, that's very much a big thing. Obviously, and the pheromone side of things is quite high. Obviously, there's been talk of the years of women rolling your baits and all that sort of thing with the pheromones, and that you catch more fish if you let them. And obviously, there's a lot of very successful female anglers out there these days that are catching fish. And
so basically, it makes the fish think, there's an orgy going on up there, I want to go and get involved.
I think ultimately it's a draw. Yeah, it's a draw. It's a bit like a sort of liquid, a strong liquid flavour. It's a scent that they follow that brings them to an area. And I would think that that's how it would be used in that situation. How you would apply it, who knows? Like I say, I would imagine you'd have to apply it to some sort of bait. But it would be a really difficult one, and I'm not sure that it's something that could be done successfully. I'm not saying never say never, but I'm not sure that it could be done successfully in the industry, and you could go out onto any lake and slay it, as it were, like the sort of theories behind it are. It's basically a scent or a draw to an area that I'm sure that's the only thing you can gain from it. So you've still got to get that fish to feed on that bait you've put in. So yeah, my view is it's best left well alone. That sort of thing. It's a dangerous thing to play with, and it's an expensive thing to play with too. Like I say, it's not cheap to buy those sort of things, and if you don't know what you're doing with them, it could be pretty dangerous. So
cool. I suppose it depends how much you win in a match, doesn't it?
You're going to leave that bit on the end.
Hindsight of life. Life in general, I wish I'd done what I'd done, leaving the oil industry and going and working in fishing and doing something that made me happy 15 years before I even did it. But you know, it was about having the guts to take risks. So in hindsight, I could have made it. It's about having the confidence in yourself and your ability to go and do it, and I wish I'd done that now. In fishing, when I look back to some of the waters I fished, I made some massive mistakes. You know, like, especially in winter fishing, I did the wrong thing or put too much bait in, but then that is hindsight, but it's also a lesson. So that's made me a more rounded angler that I am now. So I made mistakes and learned from them. That's key.
Yo, yo, yo. Well, it's a different week and we're at a different lake. I mentioned a couple of months ago that I'd moved to Kent, and just down the road from me is this pretty epic day ticket water, to be honest with you. Now, obviously, a lot of the videos out there, you know, focus on the same sort of old day ticket waters that you've heard of and seen a million times. So I thought I'd start looking around for some lakes that you probably haven't seen on screen that much. And this one is just 15 minutes down the road from me. It's Brooklands, Dartford, by the way. Apparently there's a hell of a lot of history for this place. I did mean to get down here early this morning, but I overslept, and yeah, didn't get down here till about 10 o'clock in the end, which obviously a bit poor. But it's a nice bright day, so I've managed to find some fish. Had a quick walk around this bay when I got here, and located some sitting up in the snags, put a bit of bait on them, come around here and found some just under the bushes here, so I'm gonna have a quick go for these without putting any bait out. Just gonna spoon a rod in there and see if we can get a quick bite. Fingers crossed, wish me luck. Right, I've just had another look, and there's quite a few fish in there, to be honest with you. They're very dormant, just sitting there doing very little, so I've just put a few maggots over the top of their heads, because sometimes that can really kind of like turn them on into a feeding frenzy, if you like, or at least kind of stimulate a little bit, and then obviously the others react to that, and before no time you can have a few fish grubbing up in there. So standard Joe Morgan tactics. Got a solid bag on there. I have got tubing on here this time because this lake dictates that you have to use tubing, no leader. So yeah, I've just got some of the tungsten stuff on there. Just a solid bag in the spoon, nothing else. And we're going to get that as close to them as we possibly can. Right, I've just repositioned it because first time I think it dropped a bit deep. I think I was a bit too far off of the tree line, and yeah, I think the shallower spots seem to be where the fish are, so I've just pushed it in a little bit more, and yeah, got it on one of them nice clean gravel spots. Just a little one. You know, if you are fishing locked up, I mean, even if you're not really, if you're fishing somewhere where you've got to fish a really tight clutch and you don't want the fish to run very far, which is, you know, most of the time really, it's better to have a tight clutch where possible. Just stick your butt ring behind your buzzer, and then that guarantees that the rod's not going anywhere, and you're fishing locked up much more securely. Had a little change of scenery, come round to one of the spots I baited up earlier. There's fish down there tearing it up. Can't even get a rig in place at the moment because there's so many on the spot. One good one down there, he's got a little white tip on his peck. Might just flick a few maggots in just to get them to move off so I can get a rig in place. Let's get it in there. Well, I thought they'd moved off, but just as I was lowering it in, one came in and spooked off the bag, and then that spooked another one as well. But hopefully they'll be back. Two other spots I've got along here as well, which I baited up, which I'll have to fish from the far side, but they're fish troughing on them as well, so it's all good. Get them feeding, and they're catchable, aren't they? Right, they're back, and they're on the spot. They're having a munch. Some sort of like koi type thing, ghosty, like with its tail just going like that. Cause you see this orangey black tail wafting around. There's a couple of other darker ones down there as well, having a mooch about. So it's quite a busy pathway this, so they don't seem to be too spooky. I reckon we should have a chance of a bite here. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? Like, even at this time of year, to be finding them in the edge and getting them going. And yeah, that's what it's all about. It's the most exciting form of fishing, isn't it? Definitely. It's gone a bit gloomy now. Yeah, it's got to be a chance of a bite soon. Come on. Oh, it's a nice common. Come on, mate. Oh. Well, it took a little while. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did in the end. Oh, it's got the old heart going. Come on, mate. He's woken up a bit now. I think I'm going to get him in there. Oh, go on. There we go. No, not yet. Didn't like the look of me. could have done with a 6-footer in here, really. There we go. Come to Papa. Lovely comment. Go on then. Get in there. Yes. Wicked. Result. Oh, I was watching this other smaller one feeding near it, and then just saw like a fish bolt past. Almost looked like a pike. It took something, but it must have been the fish. Picked up the rig, and I just saw the little white thing in its mouth as it bolted past. Oh. Hey. Oi, oi, there we go. Not the carpiest background in the world, but who cares when you've got a lovely carp like this, eh? My first one from Brooklands, Dartford. Cracking common, definitely a 20-pounder. Left me sling in the car, but not too worried anyway. Oh, but he's woken up now, isn't he? Look, come on, mate, calm down. Whee. Yeah, mega condition common. He's got a wicked mouth on him as well. I've obviously killed that spot for now, but I'm going to slip in some bait there, bait up these other couple of spots, and probably come back tomorrow and have a full day at it. Nice place to have on your doorstep. Happy days. Go on then, mate. Nice to meet you. Back you go. There you go. Right, so back down here for another little go. As mentioned yesterday, I did bait up before leaving, and I wanted to get down here early, but I just kept resetting my alarm this morning. Bad angling. But yeah, so I baited up them spots before I left. Also clipped up my rod, my marker rod, so I knew exactly how many wraps it would be for each one, so I didn't have to mess about with that this morning, making an extra disturbance. Bailiff's just been round and taken me ticket money, and I kind of asked him about that swim over there where I was fishing yesterday, and apparently you're not actually allowed to fish it, so hands up, I apologise. Slap on the wrist and all that. But yeah, there was a dot on the map there as if there was a swim there, but apparently there's not, so yeah, luckily he didn't kick me off. Well, I didn't actually tell him I caught one from there. So yeah, a couple of rods out. Thought I'd just leave it at 2 for now. Could use 3 if I wanted, but I don't feel the need to you know, overpopulate the swim with too many lines. Got 2 good areas, 2 rods out there nicely, so yeah, get the kettle on and fingers crossed one of these might rattle off. Is there actually any need for winter? Just not a fan. My body is not built for the cold weather. I need a trip abroad badly. It's been like 3 years now and no adventures. Need some winter sunshine. Anyway, feeding my little friend a robin down here with a few maggots, keeping him happy. Picked up a bit of rubbish, keeping the universe happy. Had the rods out about an hour and a half now. No bites. I did have a couple of liners, I reckon it was a fish trailing line. But yeah, I'm getting a bit bored already, to be honest with you. Sitting here just hoping they're over there and waiting for it to happen. After yesterday, you know, seeing them in the edge so much, watching them feeding, yeah, I'm missing a bit of that action. But it's got to be done, isn't it? So yeah, I'll give it another, I don't know, hour and a half or so here. And if I ain't had anything by then, I might move up to the next swim and fish across to where I was fishing yesterday, but with like a washing line. Or just cast it across and place it in, but I think, yeah, I know that I can place that rig perfectly in there. I know that they were in there yesterday. Even after I put that fish back, there was still fish feeding on that spot. So I think that could be a good bet. But these spots here have been baited. Got fairly good drops. I feel like maybe I could go a little bit tighter and get into slightly shallower water, but I'm gonna give them a little bit longer yet. We'll see what happens. Well, got a bit bored sitting behind those rods. Hadn't had any liners or anything. Honestly thought there was going to be a good chance of a couple of bites out of there today after baiting up yesterday. Wandered round, had a little look at the spot where I was fishing yesterday, and after about 2 minutes, a sort of mid to upper double drifted in on the munch. There was definitely a few like boilies in that still on the spot, and broken boilies. So yeah, some of the bait's still there, but maybe they're just taking a preference for like the maggots and the hemp, the smaller bits and pieces. So yeah, I'll flick one across there. I was thinking about washing line in it, but it's not ideal because obviously it's next to a snag and it just gives them that extra bit of line to be able to get in there. So instead of that, I've just dropped it in with a pole and then come back around here, tightened up to it slowly and fishing a relatively tight line. Just got a little bit of a drop on the bobbin for indication purposes. But yeah, should be a chance of a bite out of here. I'll give it a couple of hours anyway. Fingers crossed. Like I say, I didn't make too much disturbance, and if there was one there after a couple of minutes, I'm sure there's been a few about again. At least with this one, you know, I've placed it perfectly onto the spot, and yeah, I just feel so much more confident. The only trouble is I couldn't get my bank sticks in anywhere, so as you can see, I've had to bodge up a little bit of a stage stand using my chair. And the buttering's this side of the buzzer, so should be alright. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to put any more odds out either. I'm just going to sit on this one for an hour or two, and hopefully it's going to go. Oi, oi! Who said I wasn't hardcore, eh? Look at this. Lakes are frozen, snow everywhere, winter wonderland scenery. Joe's got the rods out. Yeah, back down Dartford Lakes. Had a little walk round yesterday, none of this ice was here, to be honest with you. Just formed overnight, but it was -5 last night, so that's probably why. Yeah, when I got here, this section of the lake was free of ice, free of a lid. And that little jetty over there, I don't know, something about it sort of screams carp, doesn't it? I imagine it provides a bit of cover for them, a little bit of warmth. So yeah, I could imagine a few sitting up underneath that. So I've stuck a couple of bags on the edge of it and then a little zig to the right of it. No liners yet, I've been here sort of an hour or so. Had a couple of guys with their vans behind me for a while with the engines running. I thought, come out here for a bit of fresh air, and all I could smell was diesel fumes. Mind you, if it gets any colder, I'll be sitting in my car with the engine running myself. So yeah, it's nice to be out. It's I think it's temperatures are up to like -1 today, so it's nice and cosy. Yeah, not expecting a bite, but you never know, do you? Like I say, I think that feels like it's a good area. So yeah, we'll give it a few hours. See what's happening, see what's occurring. Come on a carp, let's have a nice snowy backdrop, winter carp. Well, I had a little move, sat in that swim for about an hour and a half, and a guy come along and he was like, oh, I wanted to go in here. So I thought, well, I've paid my money, mate. I've only had an hour and a half and I've paid £10, so I thought maybe he's been baiting it or something. I said, oh, you've been doing a bit, have you? He said, oh, I come down about 5-6 weeks ago. So anyway, I said, look, if you're doing the night, I was going to give it till dark, but I'll stay till 3, and then that gives you an hour to get yourself sorted. And then he sat behind me with his engine running, fuming me out. And I just thought, oh, I can't sit here for like 4 hours with that going on. It was making me feel sick. So yeah, I thought I'd come down the other end. baited up this snag to my left yesterday. That was the only spot I actually saw a fish in yesterday, and apparently that has been doing a few bites, but they've been fishing it from the other side. However, there was a guy who'd just done a lap, and he said that he'd seen a couple out here, sort of out in the open water, so I thought I'd stick a couple out there and one just off the snag. I didn't see anything in the snags myself, but maybe they're out in open water. I mean, it would suggest that, being that every snag I've looked in, I haven't seen any fish, so yeah, they're probably just sitting mid-water somewhere. I think I might tie up a couple of zigs. I've got one on a sort of 4.5, 5 foot zig, but that fella said he's done quite well out of here in, with 6 foot zigs before in this area in the winter, so yeah, I think in these sort of conditions they're more likely just to be sitting off the bottom doing nothing. If you can get something right in front of their faces, then you have a chance, but if they're sitting sort of 8 foot off the bottom, and you know, I've got a couple of solid bags on them, but you know, if they're not really that bothered about dropping down the feed, or it's not comfortable to, then obviously you're not going to catch them when it's like that. So yeah, give it a couple of hours, see what's occurring. It's funny, isn't it? When there's no wind, and it's super cold but there's no wind, it doesn't actually feel too chilly. It's just when that wind gets up, and that's when it becomes a little bit too uncomfortable. But yeah, as long as you've got the right kit on, and it's easy enough to stay warm. Give it an hour, I'll be complaining how cold it is, probably only just because I've walked around with a barrow that I'm a bit warmer. Come on, the carp. Look lovely down here, wouldn't it? £30 common, £30 linear, well, just anything. £10 common would be nice. Just a nice snow carp. Come on, the universe. What you got? Right now it's cold, proper cold. Oh, my hands are suffering. Thank God for hot drink. Well, good news is I've actually seen a carp. Literally about 10 minutes ago, one showed just where that sort of feather is in the water, about 15 yards out. So I brought 2 zigs in. They were sort of about 10, 15 yards past that. Dropped them into that zone. One's about 4.5 foot and one's at about 6.5 foot. So yeah, just to see one was a bit of excitement, to be honest with you. I wasn't even expecting to see that, but obviously fishing the area then. If old matey saw a couple here as well, for whatever reason they seem to like this zone, so yeah, might even come back tomorrow. Got about another hour, well, 40 minutes of daylight, so I'll give it till dusk, and then yeah, I might even ping a few baits out here and then come back tomorrow, or maybe I'll just come back tomorrow and fish all 3 of them on zigs, different depths. Yeah, that might be a better shout, to be honest with you. Don't think they're going to be up for a lot of eating in this weather, but stick something in front of their noses and I reckon we could have a chance. It's just all about finding what depth they want to be sitting at, or what depth they are sitting at. Right, I need to get my hands over the stove, it's that cold. Losing feeling in them. Well, top of the morgan to you. So last night before I left, I did actually bait that swim where I was fishing. Put force bombs out on 3 different areas, same sort of distance, where I saw that fish show. Got back this morning all keen, yeah, I'm having one today, and it was frozen solid out in front of that area. So yeah, no chance of getting the rods out there. I thought maybe I might be able to break the ice with a bushwhacker, but no, it was too thick for that. So I had one other option that I could have dropped onto, and they're fishing to the island. There's one bit of water where there's you know, no ice and about 1 million coots. But I thought I'd jump onto the smaller lake behind, which is called Baldwin's, I think. And a couple of weeks ago when I walked around here, I saw a bit of bubbling out in this zone, so I thought, well, that's as good a starting point as any. So flicked a zig out there, and not long after it hit the surface, dunk, dunk, dunk. So I hit a couple of fish on the way down, so I was like, well, that's in the zone. In fact, I need to put a bit of marker on the line really, so I know exactly where that is. And then put the other one just to the right of that. I think I've got one on about 6 foot and one on about 4.5, 5 foot. So felt about 8 foot out there roughly, maybe 10. So yeah, I'm fishing, not only fishing, but I'm on fish. So I've got a good feeling one of these is going to actually go. Come on, a snow carp. Don't think there's any monsters in here, but I think there's a fair few. So got to be a chance, surely. If we're on them, that's everything. Not even going to bother with the buzzers. The ground is so hard, it's almost impossible to get the sticks in. So I'll just have them on the snow. Maybe we'll have a little snowball on the spool. Snowball on the spool. There we go. Look, who needs a stone when you've got a snowball? Right, sorted. Got them both marked up with the old marker elastic. Don't see many people doing that these days, but for when you're doing this kind of thing, then it's a necessity really. You know, if you're just casting out, feeling for a drop, and you get a bite, but you haven't got that marked up, then obviously it's going to be hard to get exactly the same area. So if you're doing this kind of thing, like I said, I know the fish are out there, so I know I've got the right distance. Might have to play around with the depth a little bit, but at least that's marked up and I ain't got any issues. The other good thing with this stuff is if you mark your line up and you've got a bit of depth in that, then you can actually cast past your spot and then wind it back until you get to the marker and then drop it down onto the area, sort of a bit more stealthily rather than just bombing it straight over the spot. So yeah, don't see many people using the marker elastic these days with the old wrapping sticks business going on, but it does have its uses for sure. Come to Carp. Right, bit of a nightmare here. I've had a bite. I was just putting my sticks out the back to do some wrapping up, and it seems to have picked up my other rod, and it's just solid. It's like it's on a snag or something. Obviously I've got zigs on, so it's quite light line, so I can't be giving it too much. But gutted. Not sure what's going on here. I think the bite was on the other rod, but I picked this one up afterwards just to see if I could get any movement on this one, because that one was solid. What a mare. Gonna have to let him. Oh, he's off. Oh, still on both rods. Oh yeah, this is not good. Not good at all. Must be going round something. Oh, shit. Oh yeah, we've definitely got movement. That's good. And I think it's dropped the other rod. Yes. Success. My hands are freezing. It's like, I think the air temperature today is -5. It's just a joke, isn't it? What sort of idiot comes out fishing in those conditions? I was having a good ruck down here under that ice. Oh, I've got to go easy on it because I don't know if that hook link's got damaged at all. Hello, Mr. Carp. Come on, mate. Let's be seeing you. He's going under the ice. Yeah, I was just put my marker sticks out because I thought to myself, well, maybe it's worth sticking a couple of spoms out there just to get a load of attraction through the water column, turn them on a little bit. I didn't have a chance to, just got the sticks in, turned around, and one of the rods was away. It's a right result that the other one's come off though. God, I'll tell you what, considering how blooming cold it is, he's putting up a hell of a scrap. Come on then, mate. Let's see. You're not allowed to use foam or imitation hook baits in here, so it's just a little pop-up with a few maggots on top of it. God, this is an absolute rucker. It's not a big one, low double, but what a scrap. Come on in, mate. Let's be having you. Oh, it's a lovely, pretty fish. Come on, mate. Nice mirror. Oh, I tell you what, that line's got a bit grated up. I can hear it through the rings. That's a good thing about fluorocarbon. Any mono probably would have cut off out there, but fluorocarbon's pretty tough. I shouldn't say too much though, because I can see it all frayed up in here. Let's get it in the net first. Then I'm going to have to strip a bit of line off. Once I've wrapped it out for the distance, of course. God, I'm not milking this. He's having it. Proper winter scrapper. Come on, mate. No, straight back down in the depths. He just does not want to give up. Come on. Come on. Yes, we've got ya. We've got ya. Hey, we've got a snow carp. Come on. Hello, mate. Oi, oi, and there we go. A lovely little snow carp. Mega little creature, that one. Nice bit of sunshine today just to brighten things up a little bit and take the edge off that -5 wind chill factor. The net had actually sort of started to freeze solid in the air where it got wet. That's how cold it is. I'm well happy with him. A mega little carp, proper little buzz. And I did actually just lose another one whilst I was getting sorted out. I think I need to put a new hook on that rig. Sort of sharpened up a little bit with a file, but weren't quite good enough. So yeah, new rig on there. And I had actually put 2 spoms out as well just before I got that bite. So definitely done the trick. So I'll stick another couple of them out and see if I can get another one. Happy days. That is proper chilly today, I won't lie. Must be mad. Yeah, nothing else has happened. I've been sort of moving the rods about a little bit left and right, seeing if I can sort of relocate that shoal, because obviously I pushed them out somewhere. I've just put one a bit further. I tried different depths. Yeah, I think catching one and losing one definitely moved them off somewhere. I've had a little flick around with my old analog deeper, a 1.5 ounce lead on my marker rod, just to try and find where they are, you know. Sort of used to do it quite a lot down layer in the winter, just flick that out gently and feel it through. And you know, if you're hitting fish, because they just become so balled up, then obviously you know you bang on them. And you can also, if you know, really carefully feel through the water column, then it gives you an idea of how far they are off the bottom, if you like, you know what I mean, by how quickly you hit them. So yeah, it's quite a good technique of locating balled up carp when it's blooming cold. But it does look like they've done the off. Got about another 45 minutes of daylight left. So yeah, I'll probably give it till dusk. And you never know, we might get one more yet. Keep sipping on the warm water, it's keeping me warm from the inside. Come on in, carp. Let's have one more. Let's have a 20. Snow 20. Being greedy now. Wow, what a lovely, bright, sunny day it is. A rarity at this time of year, isn't it? On that note, I will say it does get pretty tricky to produce good content during the colder months. And I am kind of quite a colourful person. And at this time of year, everything's so grey and dull. And, you know, quite often you don't get any sunsets and sunrises. And, you know, the lakes just sort of, obviously everything's looking dead, and yeah, it's just hard to produce good content during the winter. Also, I do tend to suffer a little bit from the old SADS, seasonal affective disorder, and yeah, as a result of that, many years ago I started going travelling in the winters and found it to be absolutely amazing. Obviously life's too short as it is. The world's an amazingly magical place with some beautiful scenery and you know, experiences to be had. So on that note, I haven't actually had a holiday for 4 years, so I'm gonna disappear off to Asia in a few days actually. And whilst I'm out there, I'm gonna try and get some cool content. Got a couple of contacts and a couple of ideas of some, yeah, pretty different stuff. So hopefully that will all go smoothly, and I'll be able to get some good stuff to show you, and hopefully inspire yourselves to go and have a little winter adventure at some point if you can, you know, because it's very easy to get stuck in your comfort zone. And like I said, you know, when you get out into some of these really cool places and experience a different kind of life, and just having, you know, nothing to worry about, and just being able to enjoy each day without all the stresses and issues that we have in working life over here. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for that. Before I sign off, just want to say a massive thank you once more to you lovely souls who contribute towards this show to keep it going, or to keep it on YouTube. It, you know, it really does kind of fulfill me to be able to keep it on YouTube rather than kind of putting a price on it and putting it on a website. I am looking into getting a website made up this year. Basically, I'm going to have quite a lot of extra content on there, and that's going to be for the people who do contribute towards it. So I'll still be putting out a show on YouTube, but for those who want a little bit more, and obviously it's another way for me to thank those people who do contribute. So yeah, look out for that in the future months. Next month, the show's already filmed, and that will be going out in 4 weeks' time. So that's up at Orchid Lakes, home of the 30s, a mega fishery which has got great winter form. So if you're looking for somewhere to get out this winter, then watch that show, and hopefully it will inspire you to go and have a little session over there yourselves. Right, before I do go, just going to talk you through one of the competition prizes we've got this month, or the competition prize, and this is going to be for the next 2 months of contributions, and there's actually 13 of these to give away. So it's a wicked book. It's called Finding the Time to Cast. It was put together by Currie, who we're out with at Orchid, and basically it's a selection of everyday anglers who actually, you know, have got a normal working life, and they squeeze in their fishing where they can. And you know, there's a big list of anglers on here, many of which I've heard of before. So I'm actually looking forward to getting stuck into this myself. I'm going to take one away with me, I reckon, and yeah, a little bit of reading material for me travels. So yeah, if you fancy winning one of them, anyone who contributes £5 or more will be going into the draw for these when I get back. And then we've also got, forgot about this one actually, there's a guy called Chris Baxter, who's a fantastic artist, and he does commissions for people, and he's offered to do a commission for us as a prize. So if you win, basically any picture that you like, you with a fish, well, it doesn't even have to be you with a fish, but yeah, he'll draw that for you, and yeah, he does an amazing job, as you can see by the ones that are on the screen at the moment. Right, I'm going to sign off there. Hope you have a fantastic month. Like I say, we'll be back in 4 weeks' time. Yeah, All the best. I'll see you on the other side. Hopefully, we'll make it back.